In the clip you're about to see, one of the world's most renowned economists accuses Israel of being a rogue state and the US of being utterly complicit in a genocide. This is what holding power accountable sounds like. If you support that, do me a quick favour and hit that like and subscribe button. Now let's watch this together and I'll give you my 2 cents at the end.
How would you characterise the current situation and the world's reaction to it?
Well, Israel is a rogue state. It's committing a genocide before our eyes. 2 million people are being starved right now, and it absolutely has to stop. One reason it doesn't stop is that the United States is utterly complicit in this. The United States finances Israel, the United States arms Israel, and the United States blocks action in the UN Security Council. So this is a U.S.-Israel operation. Intolerable, illegal, profoundly evil in its ways because it's killing tens of thousands of people before our eyes. Now, what to do? What to do with this new announcement that Israel is going to occupy Gaza is, I would hope, that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and France, as the co-conveners of the implementation of the two-state solution, which reported out to the UN General Assembly at the end of July, together, that's President Macron, the Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, would together say this is unacceptable and it's not going to happen. It would tell the United States, you cannot be complicit in this. Israel must not move. This would not be an unpopular opinion. All over the world, there's condemnation. But we must move directly to the implementation of the two-state solution now, and no more of Israel's genocidal actions or occupation and so on. So condemnation is not enough. We need a clear set of actions. I do believe that France and Saudi Arabia should take the lead on this because they're the co-chairs of implementing the two-state solution.
Undoubtedly, though, when it gets to the floor of the UN, the US is going to do what it's always done and veto any vote on the establishment of a Palestinian state. Why do you think? Why does the US insist on that veto? What's behind it?
Well, I think there are two issues. One, the vote should only be in the UN General Assembly right now. The US does not have a veto. A vote in the General Assembly would show that 185 of the 193 member states of the UN, with a population of 95% of the world, is calling for immediate action and that Israel must not occupy the General Assembly. So the Security Council should consider it, but this is a matter for the UN General Assembly where the U.S. does not have a veto. I would suggest that the Arab League have a practical plan. We will put in security. We will take the emergency relief operations underway. We will take the hostages from Hamas so that they are in safety. We will demand that Israel release the 3,000 plus hostages that it has in administrative detention, no less than that. So I think that the Arab League should actually step forward in a very practical, operational way right now and make clear that the Arab League will support the Palestinian Authority to take the responsibility in Gaza and that Israel must get out of this because genocide is enough. We've seen enough, no more. And the condemnations now need to be followed by a practical action. And the United States needs to be told in no uncertain terms, no, you are not going to be complicit in Israel's occupation of Gaza. I believe that this can work. Now, why does the U.S. do this? I have to tell you, I've watched this for decades. It is a mystery to some extent why the U.S. is so controlled, it seems, by the Israel agenda. Of course, there are many answers that are given. One is the Israel lobby, is AIPAC, is the big money involved in campaign contributions. No doubt, part of that's true. Part of it is the uniqueness of 45 or 50 million American Protestant evangelicals who base their foreign policy ideas on biblical lines, obscure and more than 2,000 years old. This is true of America, very strange, but absolutely true. There are multiple claims that many American leaders are blackmailed. This is the whole Epstein fury. Who knows? But it's not far-fetched. We know that the CIA and Mossad has worked closely together for decades. For decades. This is not a new relationship. But I tell you, even if you follow this hour to hour, day by day, it is a bit of a mystery because we have a genocide underway. And even with all of this, America should be able to figure out, no more. This is intolerable. This goes far beyond anything remotely acceptable. And the fact of the matter is the American people have figured this out. They used to be very pro-Israel. Now they're pro-Palestinian, roughly by a 2-to-1 ratio. But the political class still hones to this give Netanyahu anything agenda. But the whole rest of the world has moved beyond this.
But they've moved beyond it maybe in words, but when we see how diplomacy has failed to negotiate a ceasefire on this, you've spoken about why maybe America is hamstrung, but on a global scale, why are Israel's traditional allies also hamstrung? Why does the Western world in particular seem powerless to put some actual actions into the words that they've been saying?
Well, don't depend on the so-called West. This is the first point. The West, as I've said, is experiencing the end of its centuries of domination. Psychologically, the U.S. is in the worst shape because it's the most unrealistic, but Europe is in bad shape also. Now, it's true. Even in Europe, we're seeing, in Britain, amazingly, in Germany, which said it won't send military to Israel that could be used in Gaza. Of course, in France, saying that they'll recognize the state of Palestine. We're seeing some glimmers, but we're past the Western world. It's time, really, honestly, with all respect for the Arab world, to lead right now on this issue. And for the Arab countries led by Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia clearly has the geopolitical lead on the Palestinian issue right now, to say no occupation. And to mobilize France for that, because France is the co-chair of this implementation, mobilize the UN operations, mobilize the UN General Assembly. But also one thing that's needed in politics is a specific plan of action. Here is what's going to happen this week, next week, the next week, the next week. This cannot be left to the U.S. This can't be left to anybody. It has to be proposed now. I would say, starting with the KSA, but really with the Arab League, this is an Arab responsibility for Gaza. We will help to stabilize the situation. Israel must leave, according to the voice of the international community, the International Court of Justice, and basic human truth and decency. Get out and stop starving 2 million people.
Just a few days ago, I spoke to a senior Hamas official on this program, and he rejected calls for Hamas to disarm, given the current humanitarian situation there. Do you think Hamas should disarm and leave Gaza in order to execute a ceasefire deal that has been on the table for far too long now?
I think that Hamas should disarm and leave Gaza in the context of implementing the two-state solution unambiguously, with Gaza being taken over in security terms by an Arab group under the Arab League in support of the Palestinian Authority. Yes, but not just a U.S. ceasefire. U.S. is so dishonest. It is the most dishonest broker in this. It has nothing but Israel in its intentions. So for Hamas to say, well, no, that doesn't make sense, that makes sense. But if the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation say to Hamas, we are implementing the two-state solution and we are ending the Israeli detention of more than 3,000 people in administrative detention, and we are taking over the humanitarian aid, not this murderous operation of the U.S., which is not humanitarian, it is murder at these food points. We're doing it as the Arab League. We are doing it as the OIC. Then I would say, yes, this is the right answer, because then we're going to have a solution to this issue that's a real solution, not an American phony solution, not an Israeli dominance solution.
Totally staggering to hear that level of raw, unfiltered criticism from a figure at the heart of the American establishment. He uses the words rogue state, genocide, and profoundly evil. This isn't an argument about policy anymore, this is a moral indictment. But the most explosive part is his accusation of US complicity. He lays out a stunning list of reasons why he believes the US is controlled by the Israeli agenda, from the Israeli lobby to Christian evangelicals to even hinting at blackmail connected to Epstein. Regardless of whether you agree with him, the fact that a world-renowned professor is saying this publicly is a massive sign of how the global consensus on this issue is shattering. The question is, will anyone in power listen? So what do you think? Is Professor Sachs a brave truth teller, or is this just sour grapes? And based on his testimony, can the US ever be an honest broker in this conflict? Let me know your honest take in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like and subscribe button and catch us next time. Thanks for watching.